Welcome to another Happy Guitarist podcast. I'm Clare from Clare's Guitar Lessons on YouTube and Patreon. And today's podcast is all about looking after yourself when you're a live performer playing live music. Now, a little bit about my background. Before the pandemic, I was a full-time gigging musician playing a lot of live music, week in, week out for many years, and I absolutely loved it. I played with a duo called The Moot, and we would play many gigs doing busking, playing pubs, weddings, events, markets, festivals, and we travelled around a bit and we had an amazing time. And we would play 3 or 4, sometimes even 5 live shows every week in, week out. And some of these live shows would go on from, say, anything from 3 hours to 5 hours. And I would stand and play my electric guitar and sing. And we played hundreds and hundreds of songs, mainly covers, but we also played our original songs as well. And we had an incredible time. Now, things have changed a lot since then, and I don't play as often now. I play solo, and I generally play about 1 live show a month. So I'm not playing live as much as I used to, but I still love it just as much as I used to. And I've learned a few things along the way. And a revelation that I want to share with you is, until very recently, I used to stand and do my live gigs. And now generally my live gigs comprise of 3 45-minute sets, sometimes a little bit longer than that. And I used to stand and sing and play guitar. Now what I do, I started doing about a month ago, and it's made a huge difference, is I take a drum throne and I sit. And the drum throne has this awesome backrest on it. It's very comfy. It's one of Errol's old drum thrones. So I'm very fortunate to have that. And wow, what a difference it's made to me. At first I was a little bit weary because I thought, I need to stand to be able to put all this energy into my performance and move around and all the rest of it, because that's all I've done. But what I've discovered is I have so much more energy now during the gig whilst I'm playing and performing, and also after the gig. After I've packed down, I have a lot more energy, and I have more energy the next day, and I have a lot less backache, which I'm really appreciating. So this is something that I wish I'd done sooner. As I'm getting older, I'm having to adapt and find new ways, because as we all know, as you get older, you just can't do the things that you could do 10, 15 years ago, and that's fine. So we just have to make some changes and move with it. And one thing that I was concerned about is that I wouldn't be able to connect with the crowd the same if I was sat down, but that hasn't changed at all. I'm still able to connect with the audience really well, and they enjoy the music and I enjoy the music. So yeah, if you are a performer, if you're playing guitar, you might be playing bass guitar or a guitar in a band. You might be doing lively stuff like what I play. I play a lot of lively stuff, like rock and roll, ska, reggae, funky stuff to get people dancing. I can still get people dancing even though I'm sat down, which is really cool. So you might be in that sort of a setup where you feel like, I have to stand to play, to put in a proper performance. And, it maybe freaks you out a bit, the thought of having to sit down and what people might think. But, if you're struggling to stand and play because you've got a sore back or whatever, then, give it a go, because you might be surprised at how much you enjoy it. Yeah, so that's the first thing that I really wanted to talk about, is making sure you're comfortable when you're playing and you're performing, because as musicians, we're doing something we love. We get lost in the moment. Live music is all about being in the moment, and we forget to look after ourselves sometimes. So I'm going to share with you a few tips that I learned over the years as a performer that hopefully will help you if you're starting out as a performer, or you're already doing live gigs and things. And I'm going to share some essential tips with you. And the first one is really important, and it's to stay hydrated. So make sure that you drink plenty of fluids, but not too much. I have had a bad experience when I was in my late 20s where I drank too much water. It is actually possible to do that. Um, Made myself quite ill with it. But anyway, the point is, yeah, stay hydrated. So if you're out doing a gig, make sure that you've got some fluids with you. Take some bottles of water, maybe some juice. And that's especially true in the summer when we're all sweating and stuff a lot in the summer anyway. And if you're performing, you're going to be hot. And if you're performing indoors, you're going to be really hot. So yeah, make sure you take some fluids. And also eat a sensible meal, a couple of hours before your show, because you'll find that if you're doing a long show, say three hours or 2 or 3 hours, then you're going to use a lot of energy. So you want to make sure that you've got some energy. I'm not saying like eat a big meal before you do a gig, absolutely not. But a few hours before your gig, make sure you eat like some balanced food so that you've got enough protein and carbs in there, which will help you when you're doing your gig. Yeah, so and maybe take a few snacks with you for like after the show, because you might notice that, oof, you've depleted all this energy, and you need to look after yourself, especially if you've got a long drive home, or you still have to do some work after the gig. And the next tip I want to share is to relax as much as possible when you're performing. And this takes a bit of practice, because back in the day, I used to get really nervous, and I had all this nervous pent-up energy, and I would literally like use all this nervous pent-up energy for maybe the first hour or so. But as I've gotten older, I realized that it's actually better to try and conserve some of that energy if you can. And it's okay to be a bit nervous, that's a good sign, because that shows that you want to do it, and you care about what you're going to be doing. But you don't want to be so nervous that you're going to be like burning through all this energy. So do some like relaxation techniques, just practice some deep breathing and have happy thoughts. Try not to think too much about what you're going to be doing, and focus more on just yourself and being in the moment. And then when you're playing the gig, it's important to try and relax as much as possible, because any sort of tension that you're carrying, especially in your shoulders, your back, your neck, your jaw, if you get tense, sometimes you can clench your jaw. Any sort of tension like that is really not good for you when you're doing your gig. So yeah, just try and relax as much as possible. And also prepare so that you know what you're doing. And this can help things like nerves and stuff if you know what you're doing. So make sure that you've got an idea of what you're doing for the gig, whether you write a set list out of songs that you're going to be playing. We never wrote a set list and stuck to it, but we always generally had a big list of songs in front of us that we could just pick and choose as we wanted during the gig. And that's how we like to operate. But everybody's different. It might be that you're playing in a band with 3 or 4 other people, and you all need to have a set list to work from, because everybody needs to know what they're going to be playing next without having a discussion about it beforehand. It's okay to do that if it's just 1 or 2 of you, right? You can have a quick chat about it. But if there's 3 or 4 of you, you all need to know what you're going to be doing. So having a set list to work from, and knowing that you've practiced those songs or those pieces of music so that you know them inside out and you're confident about playing them, even if it means you're reading the music as well, that's fine, It's okay to read music and play a gig at the same time. Some people prefer to do this. I remember an old friend of mine, she's a fiddle player, she's really, really good. And she always had a music stand in front of her, even though she knew the tunes off by heart. She said that she needed to have the music there as a kind of comfort, because to her, it just helped her, remember the music, even though she knew it, if you see what I mean. So it can be a bit of I think it's just a personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with reading music or having a little cue, a songbook or something in front of you if that's what you need. That's absolutely fine. So yeah, preparing so that you feel confident to do the gig in the first place is really important. And then the next day after the gig, make sure that you get plenty of rest and that you look after yourself. So eat healthy, stay hydrated, maybe go for a gentle walk just to keep things moving. And just be aware that if you've had quite an intense gig, all that adrenaline that you used the night before will have gone. And that might make you feel a little bit flat, a little bit blue, a little bit down. I call it the post-gig blues. I get it sometimes. And it might not necessarily be the day after the gig. It could be the day after that, if you see what I mean. Because my adrenaline might still be buzzing around a little bit the next day, and I might still be feeling really great, because I've had a great night. So woo, woo, woo. And then the next day after that, I'm like, oh, I've got the blues, whatever. And it's because all that adrenaline's gone, So just be aware of that. That's something that can maybe trip you up sometimes. But, as long as you get plenty of rest between your gigs, that's really, really important. And just a takeaway tip, just remember, folks, that as we age, we need to adapt, we need to accept these changes that are happening in our bodies, and it's okay to accept them and say, you know what, I'm going to sit down from now on and I'm going to enjoy my gigs even more. I've done my fair share of standing. It's okay to sit down, or it's okay to do things a bit differently. It might be that you can't play, say, a full hour set anymore, and you need to break that up into, say, shorter sets, for example. And that's absolutely fine, But yeah, I absolutely loved my years as a full-time performer, musician. Honestly, I can't tell you, I've got so many happy memories, and I share them to this day with Errol. We talk about some of the gigs and some of the times we went through, and it really was a remarkable time. And now my life has changed a lot. We've had some big changes, and I'm very grateful that I can still go out and play music. And I play maybe one show a month now, maybe two if I'm lucky, but I still love it just as much, And yeah, if you are embarking on any sort of career as a gigging musician, then have an amazing time and enjoy it. Enjoy it, because it really is a special time to be able to do that. Yeah. Okay, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to all of my patrons and my viewers over on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else. I really appreciate it. And I hope that your guitar playing is coming along well. Speak to you all soon.